Is this focusing on me? Oh, and my wrinkles? Or the bookcase behind me. I'm just looking at this. I mean, all I can say is eclectic set of books that are sat by my feet. It really is a mixed bag. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, in case you haven't guessed from the thumbnail or the title, I feel like I say that every single time. But yeah, if you haven't guessed, today I am coming to you with a video that I've seen a few people do recently on BookTube, and that is the 10 books I would keep. Tag? Is it a tag? I'm not sure it is. I think basically I saw what Victoria read do this video, and she had seen someone else do this video, so I will link both of those videos in the description below in case you want to go and check those out. When I was watching this video from a few other people, it really got me thinking, because I'm not someone that... Is it focusing? I'm not someone that typically keeps books. So the fact that I'm doing a video about the 10 books I'd keep is quite ironic, really. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know I will generally read books. I'll then either pass them on to someone, take them to a charity shop or a little sort of free library. I don't keep many. I was going to say I don't keep any, but I do keep some, which obviously I'm going to talk about in this video. I don't typically keep very many on my bookshelf, so pretty much all of those books that are on my bookshelf behind me are new. I haven't read them. So what I was thinking of doing today is sharing with you the books that I have read. Oh, sirens. The books that I have read that I would keep if I was only allowed to keep 10, and I think I've got about 7 of those. And then from the books that I haven't yet read, another 3 from my bookshelf that I haven't read that I think will either be 5-star reads or are really intriguing. So I'm kind of mixing it up a bit. We're going off piste a little bit. Hopefully that's okay. So the books that I do keep tend to be either childhood books, so there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of memories attached to them, or they're non-fiction. So the books that I'm going to share with you first tend to fall into that category in no particular order. Actually, that's a lie. I am going to do it in a particular order because I'm going to start with the books that I have read that I would keep and have kept. But the first one actually is a book that I don't have here. I mean, great start. I do have it, but it's at my mum and dad's house. So I'll leave a picture in here of the cover. There are so many versions of this book. I'm sure most of us probably have a copy of this book at home ourselves. It's very, is the word pertinent? It's very topical right now. But I have a real sort of vintage version of it and I absolutely love it, and that is The Night Before Christmas. My dad would read this to us as a family every Christmas Eve, and actually I would say that he has only stopped doing that in the last few years. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I love all those little traditions. I love, you know, putting the whiskey out for Father Christmas, putting out the mince pie, putting out a carrot for the reindeer, everyone sort of heading upstairs, getting into our pyjamas, reading The Night Before Christmas. I love those little traditions. So that book is actually at my mum and dad's, but I would definitely keep and have kept that book if I could only keep 10. That is definitely number 1. Okay, the second book that I would keep is probably a little bit of a controversial one. It's definitely Marmite. I mean, the reviews of this, I had a look earlier at the reviews of this on Goodreads and wow, they polarize, and I get it. But the second book is that focusing now? The second book is The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Now, there are parts of this book that I agree are quite far-fetched, and I'm not totally on board with all of it, let's just say that. But a few years ago now, I mean it was quite a while ago now actually, to be fair, when I was having a bit of a bad time, I felt as though this book was something that helped me through. Although, like I said, there are bits that I don't totally agree with or believe, I do believe in the overall premise of this book, which is all about the law of attraction and making room for certain things in your life. I do agree with that, but I totally understand that not everyone does. But this, again, so I guess we're going down that non-fiction route. As I was saying before, these books are typically going to be non-fiction or sort of childhood books. And this obviously falls into the non-fiction category. Okay, we are now going back to sort of childhood books, and another book that I would keep, and obviously have kept, from my childhood is The Adventures of the Railway Cat, 4 Exciting Stories by Phyllis Arkle. Now, this book, I mean, it's the title pretty much says it all, but this is about Alfie, a railway cat who lives at a railway station where he's a favourite with all the regular passengers, and basically you go on his adventures with him. Why I love this book is because I remember so clearly that Dad went on a work trip somewhere away, and when he came back he had this for me, and I have really fond memories of reading it. So that's the third one that I would keep. The next is a childhood favourite but much older, and that is Mallory Towers by Enid Blyton. This book, I don't know if you can see, it's pretty chunky, and that, I think, was what I loved most about this book, is that, I mean, there are 3 books within one here. I think this is all the different terms, yeah, first, second and third at Mallory Towers. I just remember getting this and thinking, oh my god, look how thick it is. Look how many pages there are for me to enjoy. I'm so tempted to give this another read, but would the magic be lost? I don't know. Anyway, okay, it's another Enid Blyton. Enid Blyton was probably my favourite author of my childhood. And the next book that I would keep is The Secret of Spiggy Holes by Enid Blyton. So this is actually a new version. I would love to get the original version of this book. Why I would keep this is, again, because there are so many memories attached to it. I remember reading this on holiday. I think we might have been in Ibiza or Mallorca, and it was that in-between time from coming up from the pool and getting showered and then heading out for dinner. We were sat on the bed, I was reading it with my dad, and it's just the memories, isn't it? I probably couldn't even tell you what it was about. I think it was based in Cornwall somewhere. But again, maybe I'll have to give it a reread. I love Enid Blyton books. Also, can you believe that that book, so The Secret of Spiggy Holes, was first published 80 years ago? It's like 1940. I must say, I'm not sure how well it's probably aged, but I'm very keen to give it a reread, which is, you know, very unlike me. Anyway, okay, I've got my notes here. So the next book was a book that I studied at school. So we're getting a little bit older now, and that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I loved English at school, and when we read this, it just struck a chord with me. I remember thinking that the story was very clever. I mean, it is a Pulitzer Prize winner and it has sold over 30 million copies. So clearly I'm not alone in thinking that. So this to me is just a real classic. And also I quite like the little kind of simple cover. Now the next book isn't really a book, however it sits on my bookshelf and it's a notebook, and it is everything to do with books that I've read, so I've sneakily included it in here. This notebook, this is so geeky, I think I've mentioned this before. This notebook has all of the books that I have read since January 2008. This has 13 years worth of book reviews in it. I mean, clearly I'm not that person that reads 20 books a month. Otherwise, there's no way that this would be able to hold all of those. But I think when I looked, let me see, because I like to sort of count up how many I have read in that time. I have 240 reviews in this book as of now. I don't think I've ever missed writing in here. They're very brief, the reviews, and we're talking about sort of 4 or 5 lines. I give them a rating. The main reason I kind of started this in the first place is because I used to read purely chick lit. And if you read a lot of that genre, you'll know that quite a lot of it is very similar. The titles are quite similar, the premise of the story is quite similar. And I would find myself going into a shop and picking up a book and thinking, oh, that sounds great, right up my street, getting it home, start reading it and think, I'm sure I've read this. So my way of remembering is by writing things down. Once I've written it down, it tends to go into my memory a lot better. So that's why I started doing it. And to be fair, I mean, I've just carried it on. I can't really see why I would stop now. So yeah, I would definitely keep this because basically it's just a record of everything that I've read over the last 13 years of my life. And it's really nice looking back at it, looking at how much sort of my taste in genres and authors has changed over the years. Like I said, it used to purely be chick lit and now there is a lot more variety in there. So there's thrillers, which I never would have even picked up before. Whereas actually that's forming quite a chunk of what I'm reading at the moment. There's more contemporary fiction. There is still chick lit because, you know, that's really where my heart is. But yeah, that is another book that I would keep. I think that is 7 out of the 10 books that I have shown you that I have read and kept. Now we're on to the books that sit on my bookshelf that I haven't yet read. Obviously I needed to make it up to the 10. So we've got 3 books. The first book that I would save from my bookshelf is Sarah Morgan's The Christmas Escape. So this is her new release. My cousin bought this for me, as you would have heard me say if you watched my last video. I am such a seasonal sort of mood reader, so I would definitely have to have saved one festive book, bearing in mind, I mean, we are in proper sort of festive Christmas season now, aren't we? 2 weeks to go. This is definitely next on my list to read. It's based in Lapland. It's all around Christmas. There's a romance. I mean, it's perfect for this time of year, so I would definitely keep that. Another book that I would keep, mainly because there has been so much talk about this book and I haven't heard one person say anything bad about it, and that is The Appeal by Janice Hallett. Now, 1 murder, 15 suspects, can you uncover the truth? So it's multimedia format, which typically isn't something that I would veer towards, but like I said, I've heard so many people talking about this, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, and I'm really intrigued by it. I just hope that the format doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the story, but we shall see. And then, and my 10th book that I would keep, if I could only keep 10, is another book I haven't yet read, but my mum and dad bought for me a couple of Christmases ago. It's quite random, but I really like their thinking, and that is The Dreaming Suburb by R.F. Delderfield. Now, this is a pretty old book, I think. Let me just check when it was published. It was first published in 1964. So yeah, it's a pretty old book. It is based around the home front, which for some unknown reason was an area that I was really interested in during history, and I still am now, which is why my mum and dad bought it for me. Dad is also really into Delderfield books, so I'd really like to give it a go. And it's just so different, isn't it? And I also like the thought that's gone into this. You know, they thought, oh yeah, she really likes home front, let's get her a book. It's a bit different to what she would normally read. So yeah, I would have to keep this as one of my 10. So those are the 10 books that I would keep if I could only keep 10. I would be gutted if I had to get rid of the other 40, 50 that are sitting on my bookshelf that I've yet to read. But luckily, that's not the case. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it the thumbs up. Honestly, it really makes such a difference, and you were all so kind on my last video. I don't think I've ever got that many likes on a video before, so thank you so much for that. I would love to know if you could only keep one book. I mean, I'm pushing it, aren't I? I don't know how I would whittle those down to one, but if you could only keep one book, what book would it be? Let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to know. I hope to be back next week with a sort of 2021 reading wrap up slash best of slash awards. I mean, can you tell I haven't really planned it out yet? But I'm thinking something along those lines. If you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see from me next year, again, please let me know in the comments, because I will be planning that probably over Christmas, New Year time. Okay, I am gonna go now, because what I do is say thank you and then I ramble on for a bit more. Then I say thank you again. I really want to say thank you again. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again back here next week, where I will have another video for you. Take care, bye!